to start by saying thank you for this great conversation. I came into this with kind of no expectations, but I really couldn't have thought of a better way to spend my Sunday evening. So my question actually kind of follows up on something that Coach Liz, if I can take the onus to call you that as well, touched on. And you guys kind of touched on the idea of like the intergenerational dialogue and the role of intergenerational communication when it comes to cooking and culture. So I'm also of the camp where I think my mom's food is the best food ever, and my grandma's food was, maybe better than hers. What can, I do as, I don't want to say a younger generation, but with people, maybe in my cohort and my friends to kind of foster and encourage the intergenerational continuity? Because, in the same way I try to make the things that my mom makes, it's not quite the same, but I don't want to see those recipes and those traditions and that history end with me. I would like to hopefully, pass that on to my children. So what do you think can be done to foster and really develop kind of the intergenerational dialogue and community around food and culture?
Okay, well, I've actually got some suggestions. First and foremost, pay attention. Okay, a lot of times what simply happens is people don't feel like anybody cares, so they don't pass things on. They just, keep it and move on with it and do what they do. But if people are engaged, if they know that somebody is curious, usually that opens people up. I know it has been not only my experience with my mother, but my experience as I travel. You know, I probably, if I had been a medical person, I'd have been a gerontologist. I love me some old people. You know, even if I am getting toward being one, I still, if the older, the better. Um, because a great West African saying by a man named Amadou Hampate Ba, who spoke about West Africa, but what he was speaking about holds forth for the world, probably in general, not just people of color. But he said, when an old person dies in Africa, it is as though a library has burned. So the first thing I would say is quite simply pay attention. And secondly, remember that sometimes paying attention means be in the room, be in the presence. Don't make the time to take the trip to be with the person, to learn from them. That's important, because first of all, a lot of old people nowadays, I don't know, are lonely or haven't got a whole lot of family who appreciate somebody coming to see them and spending time with them and listening to them. Um, and that listening brings me to probably what the third thing is, which is we are all walking around with these portable brains. We have cameras, tape recorders, and videos with us at all times. Use it. Ask permission always, but use it. When you get a recipe, see if you can photograph the recipe. You will learn more about it, and you will have it in a way that you won't have it if you just have it on paper. You know, Traditionally, people of African descent are people of the word, not necessarily the written word, the oral word. So get the tonalities, get the inflections, but equally get those nuances not only in the word but in the video. Um, in on the Hog, you're going to see a scene where a woman is stirring something, and at the end of every stir, she goes back, stir, 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 clockwise, 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 and then one counterclockwise to kind of finish it off. I do that. My mother did that. Your people may do that. Everybody doesn't do that. So the knowing of that is fascinating. And this is a woman in Benin, in West Africa, who I have no relationship with that I know of. So all of those things are things that you can do. And I think all of that is important. Um, totally non-related, but I'm seeing somebody saying stopping and watching, and I can't, you know, I'm sitting here with the light on this, so I'm thinking shopping and watching. But go shopping with them. Go shopping with them. I did a junior year in France with a French family, and every Sunday morning, the father of the family, who was not African descent by any stretch of the imagination, would get up and go shopping in the Marché de Neuilly. Well, his kids didn't want to do that, but I did. And I learned about how to pick melons and things and sniff things and whatnot, because at that time, markets there, I mean, markets in the US in the late 60s were, yeah, you know, iceberg lettuce, more iceberg lettuce. But in France, there was all sorts of stuff. I mean, I learned how to eat garlic. I grew up in a garlic free household, but he would get mushrooms and sniff them. And every Sunday he would make champignon à l'ail, mushrooms in garlic. And, you know, I'd come out reeking of garlic and just as happy as a pig in poo, you know. So spend time would be my best thing, or my suggestion for you. Spend time and take time. And and don't end up like me, because I tell people do what I say, don't necessarily do what I do. Because I don't necessarily have my mother's recipes. My mother and I cooked together. And I wrote a book called The Welcome Table that my mother completely backstopped me on. So I've got the recipes that way. But as far as recipes, I may have 15. And if I have 15, that's a lot. So you go get them.